Good morning, good morning. How's it going, everybody? Glad you could join me today. And we're going to take a look at the situation in the markets right now. I wanted to focus on gold, silver, and the currencies because I see the dynamic has shifted over the last day or so. And so I wanted to show you what I'm seeing with respect to the institutional buying and selling. And then we'll take it from there. Okay, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and then I'll try to address them all. All right. Well, welcome again. Welcome again. I think there's some good trading opportunities coming our way. I just got to be patient. All right, let's shut that off. We just got to be patient. But I do think that there's some good trading opportunities coming our way. Gold's a little bit difficult, okay? And when you ask yourself, why is gold different or difficult, I should say, it's because of this price action here that's taking place on the weekly time frame. You know, we had price come down into a nice area of demand down here, and we got the move to the upside, but it's really failed to have any strong momentum and follow through. And so, you know, we had demand come in on the daily time frame as well, and a couple contacts of that, but there's really been no serious follow through in terms of a move to the upside. So, you know, and then when you look at the weekly time frame, all you see is this big block of trading. So it makes it quite difficult to understand, first of all, what in the world is going on and how is price going to move. Okay, we had two contacts of daily demand here, and the last contact of the daily demand caused price to rally back up to previous highs. So you know there's a lot of retail traders who are loving this because they're shorting at the highs, going long at the lows, right? They'll do that until it doesn't work. But you know, we're trying to find direction. We're trying to find a path that price is going to take so we can take advantage. Now, the fact that price is in the upper quadrant of this, okay, if you were to section this off, we're in the upper area. So yeah, is there a chance that we're going to see a move to the downside over time? You know, possibly. Okay. And so if we were to look at the 4-hour time frame, this is the last situation that took place. Okay. This is the last thing that took place. We had a very significant area of supply here that got removed. And the area of demand that came in is right here, okay? And so as you can see, price just broke through that area right now, right? And you can say it's because we're in the upper portion of that ranging, and I think that's probably likely the case why we got that push down through demand, because if you think about it, that was significant buying coming in from the institutions. So why didn't they want to use that significant buying area to propel price higher? Well, because that's not what is in play right now. We have that ranging on the daily time frame. We see that block of trading on the weekly. So the bigger pressure is to the downside. So could this continue lower? Yeah, it could continue lower. You know, when we zoom out and take a look at price action, we can see that every time it reaches the highs, okay, it tends to drop. So price came up here, dropped here, it dropped here. Is it going to continue? Potentially, okay? So that would be the expected move. And this is why I drew this here, because if price was to rally up here, this is an institutional area of selling. This is the selling area that came in as price is reacting from the highs, all right? And so I would expect that price would likely drop from this area if it were to drop. So what I'd like to do is when price gets up here, I'll be focusing my attention on this area, and I'll be looking for signs that the banks are actually selling when price gets up there. So I'm going to be looking for RSI to shift. I'll be looking for lower time frame demand zones to be removed. and for selling to come into the market up in this area. And if it does, I'll trade it for a short-term move to the downside. I wouldn't be aiming for all the way down here because that's asking a lot, all right, in my opinion, okay? Because anything can happen. We can have price fall short of coming down here and then reversing back up. I mean, who knows, right? But would I take advantage of that short-term momentum from here? Yeah, I definitely would. Okay, so that's one thing that I'm watching for in gold. Now I'll bring you and your attention over to silver. Now I've been talking about silver for some time now, and silver has contacted an area of supply. And when we were here, when price action was here, I said I wouldn't short silver here, okay? Because what I would want it to do is I would want it to rally up and contact this area here because it's a supply zone. Well, it's contacted that area, okay? So the expected move is a move towards this area here, okay, over time. I don't know for a fact that it's going to do that. So what would I do is I'd be looking at the lower time frames here to see if selling is indeed going to come into this market. All right. Now, 4 hour time frame is the time frame that I will be watching. So I've already made my notes on my chart that I'm watching for momentum to shift. Okay. Bu- 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 bu. Yeah, 1 hour RSI for the initial move off of here, but I'm basically looking at the overall RSI in the 4 hour time frame. Okay, so as you can see, RSI on this peak here was super aggressive. RSI here also super aggressive. So I'd want to see some kind of major selling coming in here. Okay, I want to see that the banks are indeed filling in sell orders. That would be very important. And then for another test of this area for the bigger drop, okay? Another way you can do it, and it's a way that I often do it as well, is I'd be looking for institutional demand, okay? So I would be doing some analysis to determine whether or not this is actually demand. I'd be doing some analysis to see if this is demand as well. And then I would be watching price action because, you know, if price comes down here, comes up here, and I see the RSI is at 60, this could be some supply right here. And I might just take a short off of that supply, okay, as opposed to waiting for the RSI to provide a signal, right? So I could do it that way and short 3 to 1, maybe even bigger move to the downside, okay? Because again, the expected move is down to this area here, okay? The 36 area, give or take, down here. So, you know, that's a pretty, oops, didn't want to move that. That's a pretty decent move from here down to here, okay? You can capture a lot for that move. So I think there's pretty decent odds. And the fact that gold is on that upper portion and the pressures to the downside, and I see supply is being contacted on silver, this, you know, makes it a higher probability move, in my opinion. And, you know, basically, this is how the market works, right? So it's not just my opinion. My opinion is based on reality. So that would make it a higher probability move from what I'm seeing. All right. Thanks, Dave. Nice to hear from you. Any questions about any of that stuff? Let's see. Nice to see all your beautiful messages. Thanks, guys. Good morning, everyone. Glad joining. Good day, mates. Hello, Kevin. This is Ruben from Uganda. Hi, Ruben. Karosh, how are you, sir? Lucas. European interest rate decision is coming in 10 minutes. Yeah, in about 2 minutes. That's right. ECB. Let's look at the euro. So, yeah, very interesting. One thing I noticed here is that we had a very important area here. There's a very important supply zone that we had here to the left, and price just took it out. Okay, this is telling me the banks are not interested in selling, all right, or else they would have sold here. And so instead, they're coming in with buying. So um, we'll see how price reacts to the news. But I think regardless of what the news is, what we're seeing here is that there's a buying area here. So if price was to come down here, it'd probably be a reaction to the upside from there. Okay, but like I said, what we're seeing in gold is that selling has been the stronger pressure here. So we're getting a different chart on euro. What does that mean? We'll have to wait and see. I wouldn't be taking any trades off of that. I'll tell you that. Okay. But on the weekly time frame, we got a really nice reaction off of that area. Remember, I told you this isn't demand, but it's an imbalance, an important imbalance. Okay, so let's pay attention to it. Price came down, just fell short, and now we're seeing that strong reaction to the upside. So strong it was able to take out that area of supply. Okay, so let's watch, shall we? Did they release the rate yet? Yeah, they're keeping it at 215. So let's see how price reacts. Not really doing anything. It's like whatever. Yeah, not really doing anything. All right, so we move on. So silver, so that's what I'm seeing in silver. Potential short here. Just got to be patient and wait for the RSI to shift or create new supply. But I'll be doing some analysis to ensure that those are areas of demand that I want to be monitoring. All right. Aussie, did it get up into that area? Ooh, it just contacted that area. Look at that. Okay. Finally. This is the area that I am interested in looking for a short position. Okay. I wouldn't short blindly for reasons that I've mentioned before, because we've got multiple contacts of this area of supply already on the monthly time frame. Price came into supply, and we have multiple contacts of it on the daily time frame, and so it's makes it lower quality to take a short off of this area. But I'm watching this area for a potential short. Okay. So we'll see if that turns out to be something of interest. Pound also interested here. I've reached pounds reached this area. This was a key area of supply that I was watching for the institutions to come in and start selling again. All right, nicely located. I said if everything comes in line, if all the charts come in line for a sell, then I would potentially be looking for a sell signal off of that area. So, that's the daily time frame that we're contacting. Price dropped. Now it's inside 4-hour demand. That's why we're getting this move to the upside. But we could get the removal of this 4-hour demand. And if some supply was to come into play, then I'd be interested. So one thing I will do is I'll put in an alert here at the bottom of the zone. And this is how I do it. 4-hour demand zone has been taken out. Look at newly formed supply for a potential short off of the daily supply zone. Okay, there you go. Okay, so now we be patient and we just wait and see. Let's see, any requests here? Lucas, Euro US dollar news, please. Euro US dollar. Hello, Sensei. Long time I don't get to see you live. Much love for all your hard work. Thanks, Dave. Option data suggests max pain is at 34.50. Gold has strange moves last few days. Yeah. Gold has strange moves, very strange moves. Well, as a trader, you always have to understand what the circumstances are in a chart. If you don't understand what the circumstances are, you're going to be in trouble. Period. I understand very clearly what the circumstances are. So I know if it's going to be high odds to trade or low odds. And I know exactly what needs to happen for it to be high odds. Okay. For a short, for instance, I would need this area to be taken out. And then shorts would be high odds. For a long, for instance, I need price to go higher and to produce new institutional buying. Period. Anything else between that is lower odds. Okay. To take a potential short, like I was pointing out, off of the 4-hour time frame is risky. It's very risky. Okay. But I would speculate on a potential short here because I'm learning. All right. I'm applying new concepts, new principles to the charts, and I'm learning. Okay. With this new RSI system that we've been working on is been very promising. We've been getting a lot of good results, but we have to learn in what circumstances to use it and what circumstances not to use it. But being a very conservative trader, I wouldn't be trading gold right now until something higher odds was presented to me. So shorts would mean daily demand needs to be taken out, and longs would mean new demand zones would have to be created. Okay. Let's see here. Why not rush right now to sell, Dave? What were you speaking about when you wrote that? Which chart? Why not rush to sell now? No problem, my friend. Dave, why rush? Yeah, no rushing. Trading, you don't want to be rushing. Why rush? You do your analysis, you find out what's the highest odds, you set your alerts, and you wait for your alerts to go off. That's it. It's the best way. Okay. Don't rush to make decisions. All right. So pound, we covered pound. US CAD. You know how we're looking at the pound for a reversal to the downside, right? And gold and silver look ready to drop as well. With that US CAD, a potential move to the upside. Only problem is that we don't have demand being contacted. If demand was being contacted down here, then it would be higher odds, but it's not. But it could still work. Okay, that's why I'm watching for a move from here to here. I'm watching the RSI, okay, because RSI right now is at 40. I'm watching the basing. I'm looking for a momentum push to the upside to provide the signal for a potential long all the way up to here. Higher odds would be the US Swiss. Okay. Higher odds is US Swiss because we're inside demand right now on the monthly time frame. Okay. First test of it was weak. Second test, okay, getting closer to 40. So I'm watching for that. It might produce a move to the upside. Very decent odds of that. And US dollar Japanese yen sitting in a range now. I wouldn't want to touch it. Okay, it's not high odds. All right, in a minute, news coming out. Aussie was going well, so we can see. Okay, I am glad to see the channel grows constantly. We were so little in numbers 1 year ago. Yeah, we're building. We're building. You know, the thing is that the language that we speak here is a little bit different than what most people are used to, right? People are used to support and resistance, Bollinger Bands. There's a vocabulary that people are used to. It's a vocabulary that people are very comfortable with, and what we speak is very different. Okay, we're talking about institutional buying and selling, institutional supply and demand. People don't really understand the concept of supply and demand. They don't understand that the banks control price. All right, the banks control price, and so if you want to know what price is going to do, you need to be focusing on what the banks are doing with price. So in order to discover what the banks are doing, you need to locate their buying and selling. You need to locate the buying and selling taking place on all the time frames, and you need to know the relationship between each of the time frames. And it takes a while to learn this language. The thing is that once you learn the language, you can't unlearn it, because once you start seeing the charts through the lens that we see it through, you'll never be able to see the charts differently ever again, period. Okay? And that's the thing. So people are starting to pick up on it, and people are starting to see what it is that we do and the accuracy of the analysis, and they're following along. And with your help and your support and your likes and your shares, that always helps a lot to build the channel and get the word out. So I always appreciate that help. Thanks, guys. Can you take a look at the Nikkei? I don't look at that chart, never really do, so I wouldn't know anything about it. Bitcoin. Yeah, let's take a look at Bitcoin. That's a mess. So basically what this chart is telling you is that it's disrespecting the 4-hour time frame, because no supply or demand is being respected, and it's disrespecting the daily time frame, at least the area that we had up here. It's not really doing anything. So you see we had a demand zone here. It just spiked through, and the way it's trading through it has no respect for it. What I would be paying attention to is right here. Okay, newly formed institutional demand. This is the area I'd be focusing my attention on. Okay, because if price was to come down here, you look for buying signals here, and this could work out extremely well. Okay, that's what I would be doing. I think that's decent odds. Other than that, I would not be focusing on price action on the daily or the 4-hour at this point. Let's see. Guys, keep track of all the charts Kevin shares. Often you can keep up with him even if he didn't show it recently. This is a custom learning experience if you give in the time. Yeah, keep track of the charts, because stuff that I mentioned, trades that I mentioned, the way price will play out, there's a lot of good trades in these things that we discuss here. Not just that, but one of the most important things I'm always trying to get people to understand, okay, in my opinion, in trading, one of the most important things that you can build is your logic, okay? The logic that you apply towards the markets. Because if you don't have the correct logic, you're not going to understand why price is doing what it's doing. You're not going to know when is a good time to trade. You're not going to know, if you should be buying or not. If it's, something that you should be holding for a long period of time, short period of time, you're not going to understand anything about how to get into a trade, or even understand what's happening in the markets. So you need to build up your logic, okay? You need to build up your logical skills, so that when you look at a chart, you can look at all the time frames, start doing your analysis, and start to understand what price is doing and what it's going to do. Because if you don't know that, then you're in trouble, okay? So a lot of what I'm trying to teach here is the logic that I apply to the charts. So when I'm doing these sessions with you, I'm trying to show you what I see, explain to you why these areas are what they are, supply and demand and trends, trend lines, all that stuff, and the reason why they are what they are. And based on that, what the expectations are. And if price doesn't play out as per the expectations, that means something else is playing out, okay? And for instance, we were looking at gold, okay? And we had a expectation for gold, okay, when price contacted this area of supply. Because it was supply, and because price was in a range, there's an expectation for price. And so it's important to understand when price is breaking out of that dynamic and changing, okay? So because price contacted supply, the expected move was for price to come down here. When it didn't do that, it changed the path. So it's important to understand where that takes place, and that took place right here, which is why I make note of it on the chart. So it's a different dynamic now, okay? Price comes up, now it's removing this, creating supply. You have to put things into perspective. Why did this dynamic change? Why did it break out of this ranging? Well, because it wanted to go to the upper portion of the ranging that's taking place on the daily time frame. And now it's reacting to the downside. Why didn't it remove demand? Well, because likely it wants to continue going lower because of the range that we have on the daily time frame. So I'm always having a conversation with myself, always examining the charts, looking at what's taking place, figuring out what is expected of price based on the dynamic that is currently playing out. And if price changes direction, then I have to reassess and figure out why did it change that direction and what is to be expected now. These are very difficult markets. Okay, gold right now is a very difficult market to trade because there's no trends and there's no significant areas of buying or selling that are coming into play. So when we have a market that is trending, major demand areas are being contacted or supply, then it becomes highly predictable to know where price is going to go. And so when we have these discussions with students, I'm talking about what is happening on the charts and what we're expecting for price to do. And I'm always making notes on the charts. That way, later on, when we come back to the charts, we can look at it and see what played out and see how accurate our analysis was. Now, we're not always 100% accurate because there's going to be circumstances that are going to play out that, you don't have a crystal ball. You can't predict the future of what's going to happen. It's always based on what is most likely going to happen based on what they have been doing, right? We read the story of what's been taking place to figure out what is likely going to take place. But, most of the times we're accurate, very, very accurate. And some of the times price does something different. We just reassess what took place. Sometimes we look at what was the logic that we applied at the time and was it correct? And if it wasn't correct, where did we go wrong with the logic? And then we adjust and we learn. So it's always a learning experience. Okay, no matter what we do, it's always a learning experience. Let's see. Lean pork. Show us the bacon. I don't do lean pork. Question on gold. You explained it right after. I wanted to help you illustrate. Appreciate that. I'm also watching Aussie US dollar. No confirmation yet. Thoughts on US CAD, US. Yeah, so, US dollar, Japanese yen, I'd stay away from it right now because it's just a mess. We know that the push to the upside was caused by profit taking on short positions. Other than that, how would you trade something like this? It's very difficult to trade something like this because you don't know how much higher it's going to go, how much more profit taking they're going to do. We don't know that. So it's best to let them take their profits and then start to reaccumulate another position. And then we can look for zones that would help facilitate that accumulation of that position, okay? And we're not at that stage with the US dollar, Japanese yen. US Swiss, I'm looking for a potential long. Okay, this is looking pretty good here. You see the strength coming out from down here. This is really good. A potential long here. So once it closes above, which will be in 9 hours, if it closes above the basing candle here, that is to me a long signal for price. Okay, price came into demand. It took some time, a couple bounces on the daily time frame, and again, there's a very strong relationship between the daily time frame and the monthly. You need to understand what that relationship is. I understand it very well. That's why I know I should be looking at the daily time frame for that signal to take a trade off of. Okay, everything's very specific. Okay, what we do is very specific. Demand is contacted on a monthly time frame. We know we have to look at the daily. That's just the relationship. Okay, that's just how the markets work. Monthly demand comes into play. It takes multiple days for the banks to acquire their position when they're contacting an area that previously took a month, if not more, to accumulate. Okay, so look at back here, right? Price dropped, and yeah, it happened in 2011. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Okay, price will still react from it. All right, doesn't matter. So it took a month to be acquired. When price gets down there, it'll take multiple days to shift that momentum to the upside. So that looks pretty good. US CAD likely follows suit. It's lower odds because there is no demand in play, like I said, but it could still work out. All right, let's see the rest of your messages. I'm not looking at stocks right now, my friend. I think pound US dollar have a trend line that is broken right now. Maybe you check it too. On what time frame? The pound US dollar. I don't see any broken trend lines personally. What do you think about oh yeah, we've talked about that before. I can go in for a long time talking about other education providers. Listen, I'll be straight out with you. I've looked, okay, listen, since I was a young kid, I've always liked magic, okay? But back then I didn't have any magic books to teach me magic. So what I learned was how to observe somebody and figure out what they're doing so I can discover the secret behind what they're doing. Okay. That's always what I used to love as a kid. So I, um, I love examining something and trying to figure out a solution, right? Magician does a trick. You watch, you try to figure out what he's doing. What's the trick? What's the illusion that he's creating? And I've looked at a lot of trading education providers, and it's very hard to find anybody legitimate. I'm sorry, it is. Um, what I'm seeing is just a bunch of liars, and I'm sorry that it's like that. I really am. We should have people holding higher standards, but the level of nonsense and lack of morals from people is just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. People are spewing out lies left, right, and center like I've never seen. And I've seen a bunch. And every time somebody makes mention of somebody, I get curious. And I'm like, oh, maybe this person is legit. Maybe they have a trading style that is making 90%, winning trades. Maybe there's something about this market I don't understand that if I could incorporate it would increase my odds of winning. Let me see what this person is up to. Let me see what kind of trades they're making. And you know what? It's such nonsense. It's such nonsense. When you train your brain to be very critical and you don't take people's word at face value, you just, well, in my normal day to day dealings with people, it's a different situation. But when I apply that critical thinking to a situation or to a person when I'm trying to evaluate them, um, it becomes pretty clear pretty quickly, what that person is doing and how they're tricking people. And it's just it's crazy. It's ridiculous. I mean, I've made mention before. There's a guy who's very very popular, very very popular on the internet right now. Selling courses. He does the same thing over and over again. He sells courses. And you know why these guys sell courses? Because if they could trick you into receiving $1,000 from you, or 1,500, or 2,000, or $2,500 from you one time, they know once you get the product and you try to apply it and you see that it's nonsense and you see that his results were nonsense, and then you start thinking critical, because that's the problem. Most people don't think critical enough at the beginning. Once they pay and then the money's gone and then their dreams are over and all that emotional upheaval that that person stirred them into settles, then they become more critical. Then they go back and they watch the YouTube videos. Then they go back and watch, did he really give out that trade like he said? Oh, I give out the trades before, during, and after. Did he really give out that trade? Or did he just say, I might do this, I might do that, and then later on shows you that he's in the trade when it's halfway to its target? People don't really think. They don't really critically examine until it's too late. That's the problem. And then before you know it, you realize, oh, he never really showed me the trade from the very beginning of him entering the trade and riding it out the whole time. He never did that. He showed me midway through. Huh. And then you start watching videos and you see how people can manipulate MT4 and change the numbers and make it look like they're in a trade when they're really not in a trade. And then when you realize that, you're like, wait a minute, can't this guy be sued? And then you realize, yeah, of course he can be sued. You don't think he took your money and paid for a lawyer to figure out how he could prevent himself from being sued? Because if you took a person like that to court and said, you know, you scam me and I'm suing you, he'd have to prove that what he's selling to you is legit. And if you had him prove that he actually took the trades, you know, that were used to sell you on his courses, he would have to prove that he actually took the trades. And if he's really not taking trades, then he'd have to put a disclaimer that he's not really taking trades, right? So if you're thinking through this process, you'd be like, well, then he'd have to put a disclaimer. And then you go to his YouTube videos and you read the description and it says in the disclaimer, I'm not taking trades. I'm not taking any trades, okay? So, you know, uh, it's bizarre. It's right there in the disclaimer. I'm not taking trades, even though in the video he's saying he is. Anyways, a lot of scam artists, a lot of nonsense, a lot of fakers out there. Look at it this way. If somebody is spending most of their time showing you their lifestyle and their cars and they're smoking a cigar and doing all the poses, you know, that you see in James Bond movies, if somebody focuses their attention on that, they're trying to emotionally get you hooked onto something, because then now you're not thinking critically. You're not thinking, is this guy legit? And they're trying to get your money by using your emotions against you, okay? What you want to do is follow somebody who posts analysis, posts trades before, the setup before, okay, the trade before, the analysis before, during, and after. Okay. Most importantly, the logic that they're applying to the charts needs to be correct. Because if the logic is not correct, you're going to be a disaster. You may get lucky once or twice with trades, but your logic has to be so correct that, and in line with reality, because otherwise you're not going to last a long time in this business. You need to look at charts, multiple situations, and you're going to have to do it for many, many years. And if the logic is not correct, you're going to blow up your account. It's just a matter of time. So you want to see real analysis, trades, legitimate that were shown before, middle, and after. And in my opinion, you don't want somebody that sells you a course. Because here at my school, it's a monthly fee. Do you know why? Because I'm so sure that when you join and you see what we're doing, you're going to say, oh, finally, I found the one place I've been searching for all my life. Where am I going to go now? This guy's legitimate. He's truthful. He's honest. He's dependable. He shows up. He doesn't waste my time showing me nonsense. He doesn't try to lure me into making decisions emotionally. He's doing analysis all the time. He's taking trades all the time. He's showing his results. He shows the trades from the beginning, sometimes right as he's putting in the pending order. Okay, the trade hasn't even been triggered. It's the pending order. Show you the pending orders, the stop losses, how I manage it, why I manage it, watch how it plays out, do market analysis, show you what's taking place, examine the CFTC data like nobody else can, all right? Do supply and demand analysis that you can see later on how price plays out, and I build a relationship with you. You build a relationship with me, a trusting relationship. And if you decide that you want to leave, you can go at any time you want. I'm not trying to get a $2,000 amount from you or a $3,000 amount from you because I know later on when you realize I'm a scam, you know, you wouldn't pay me another penny. I'm not trying to do that. It's a monthly fee. You stay as long as you want. As long as I commit myself to you and I show you that what we're doing here is legitimate, you stay. And if you don't think it's legitimate, you leave. And that's a trusting relationship, at least in my opinion. All right. Anyways, so that's my thoughts on that. Okay. Whoever cannot see this is my fault for having the wrong value. I saw many complain about the thing you teach, but the same people follow wasters. I saw many people complain about the things you teach. People that complain about the things that I teach, they're just complainers. I get people that come onto the YouTube channel. They're like, you're doing that. And I'm like, listen, save it for somebody that's actually trying to scam you, not me. Some people are just have been burned so many times that they apply that thinking to anybody that teaches, and you can't change that. All I say is, come watch my videos, watch my analysis. Don't have any opinion. Don't judge me. Just watch. Take notes and see if what I said was true or not. If what I said sounds like it makes sense, stick with it and see. Did the logic that I apply on my analysis a month ago play out? The logic that I applied 6 months ago, did it play out? Did the trades I take work? This is what you need to follow, right? And then judge. But don't come and start watching videos and, when I see that, I just feel sorry for the guy because I know they must have been through a lot. You're honestly a great teacher. Thank you. Kevin, not Kelvin, bro. Thanks, Dave. A lot of people get that wrong. I don't know why. What are your thoughts on pound yen? I don't know. We could take a quick look at it. What do I think about pound yen? Contacted some supply in the 6 month. Over time, it wants to drop. Okay. How long is it going to take? Well, RSI on monthly was very strong. Now it's rallying up again. We would need some basing and a drop. That could take a couple months, but this could drop. That's what I'm thinking about that. Okay. Tesla long, yeah, not working out so well, eh? All the buying was coming in on Tesla, which was good. It was setting up for a continued move to the downside. The earnings came out positive from what I'm seeing on TradingView. And then the news had to come in and slosh it around. So we'll see what happens with that. Yeah, no confirmation. Best ever. Give up gold for this week. Giving up gold for this week. Yeah. Yeah, it could work to the downside. We'll see. We'll see. Always the facts. Free wisdom, magic trade, U.S. initial job claims, magical trader. Can we check oil? Trend line on the 4 hour. That was gold, right? Trend line on the 4 hour. Yeah, I don't have a trend line there. Price went up to the upside, but I wouldn't draw a trend line here. But what other trend line? Here, coming up here, I wouldn't draw a trend line there. If this is the one you're talking about, like that, I wouldn't draw a trend line there. And in our classes, level 2 classes, we talk about what's legitimate trend line, what is not, and so forth. Oh, by the way, we're going to be starting a new level 2 class. What's a level 2 class? Well, it's where we learn how to draw institutional trend lines, and I talk about how to discover if price is in a range, consolidation, or trends. If you don't know how to do that, if you don't know how to spot it, you're in trouble, okay? There's a difference between what somebody calls an upward trend from a conventional technical analysis book and what the banks are actually looking at in terms of a trend. And how do I know this? We go through all of this in detail, okay? It took many, many, many years to discover these things and learn these things, and then have to test them out and use it over and over again and see if it actually plays out. And it works like a charm, like incredible. Okay, so this is what we teach. I'm going to be starting a new class on Monday. Okay, so if you guys are interested, join. And on Monday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to start that new class. Okay. Let's see. That trend line is decent. Sure, very worth it. Where are you? Nice. When do we start level 2? I just mentioned that. Love you. Oh, you're so nice. Never seen any other mentor. Free week trial is great before paying. Yeah, we have the free week trial. If you want to try us out, just dip in, go check out the video lessons, look at the content, look at what we have, scan through some of the classes, look at our portfolio, see the results that we're getting, and then make a decision if you want to be here or not. Okay, it's up to you. I'm not going to emotionally trigger you and try to get you to be convinced. Just come and see what we do. Nice drop on gold right now. All right, so I think it is time for me to let you guys go. It was fun. Wow, we went a pretty long time, didn't we? Thanks for joining. I always appreciate you guys with me, honestly. I live out in the middle of cottage country. You know, the nearest town's like 20 minutes drive. I got neighbors, but I don't see them. They're far. I'm up on a hill overlooking a lake down below. It's beautiful. I got a lot of land here. It's wonderful. I got gardens that I take care of. I live here with my family, my wife and my two daughters, and we live a pretty decent life here. But sometimes it can get lonely, when you're always. I'm surrounded by three ladies, wife and two daughters, right? I need a little bit of masculine blood to be surrounded by. So, it's the summertime. I'm focusing on spending time with my family. I'm not doing a lot of the pool outings that I normally do in the fall and the winter and spring. So it's nice to have you guys with me, okay? So it doesn't feel so lonely when you guys are with me looking at the markets together. So I always appreciate that very much. Okay, folks. Very good. Thanks again. Always a pleasure. And we'll talk to you guys again soon. All right? You take care. Have a good one.